Welcome to Sermons in the Park, a ministry exploring biblical truth from the Word of God, focusing on the truths that help us in our daily walk with Christ in every aspect of our lives. Now, here is your Reverend, Jamie McCaskill.
Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to an all-new Sermons in the Park. I hope the audio is working and I don't have to put the audio from the podcast recorder on over there. On the podcast, I'm sorry if you guys are hearing a lot of noise. I forgot to set up the sound blocking for you. So here we are, another week. Before we get started, I wanted to make an announcement here on the video and on the podcast. This coming week, on Thursday, I believe it's the 6th, we will be interviewing Greg Baker. Greg Baker wrote a book series called the Deut Chronicles. He uses the Bible for the basis, and he sticks to the Bible. But what he does is, it's a fictional story, and he fills in gaps just with fiction. It's a great book series. I read the first part, book in the series, which is David versus Goliath. Well, it starts off with David getting anointed and then working its way into him facing Goliath, and you get to read that whole thing. If you guys haven't picked it up, it's really good. It's called The Anointed. You can get it for, if you have a Kindle, it's like 99 cents over on Amazon. I picked up a copy and read it so I could be ready for the interview we're doing Thursday. And I just have to say, guys, it's really worth it. Get you a copy, check it out. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Like I said, he sticks to the biblical story. It's amazing. So, now, before we get started, let's do what we always do here on Sermons in the Park. And bow our heads and thank our Heavenly Father for all the great and wonderful gifts He's given us. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for all that you've done for us. We thank you for the gift of breath, the gift of food, the gift of water, the gift of fellowship with other humans here on this planet. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, who died so we can have this relationship with you. We thank you for birds, trees, wind, air, sun, everything you put here just for us. You created everything before you created us. That way everything was prepared for us, and we thank you for that. We thank you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. So if this is your first time joining us, I want to say welcome. Guys, if you see me doing this, it's hot here in my living room. I've got a fan going, I've got an AC going. It's warm today. But this is your first time joining us, I want to say welcome. I hope you decide to stick around and continue to watch us, to join us here on Sundays, either on the podcast or the YouTube channel, wherever you decide to tune in. I hope you continue to do that. What we do here on Sermons in the Park, as you probably heard Joe Bacon at the beginning say, we do a book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse breakdown of the entire Bible. We're currently, and now just to back up for a second, we don't do it in order, okay? We kind of just jump through the books. I ask you guys on Facebook or Twitter or wherever which book you want me to go to next, and that's the one we go. We break it down chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and sometimes word by word, because words do change over time. And so where we're at today is we're in chapter 36 of the book of Genesis. So if this is your first time joining us and you'd like to, I promise you, if you pause right here and go back and find the first one and just kind of read forward. If you go over on YouTube, BitChute, or Rumble, you can actually find, I started with an introduction to the book of Genesis before we got started. Then you can work your way forward. Because like I said, here we are, we're in chapter 36, and we'll be reading about the genealogy of Esau, and we see a complete list of his wives as well as his sons. We see how wealthy Esau was. We see the descendants of Esau and Seir and Horite. Okay, their families, of course, right? They intermarry, and I always found it very interesting that the history of Jacob, the one that we see in the next chapter, is preceded by this here detailed genealogy of Esau, which, of course, introduces the genealogy of, like I said, Seir and Horite, because of their intermarrying. Now, Seir's descendants, they were originally the inhabitants of Edom, and that includes a list of the Edomite kings. We also come to see the descendants of Jacob and Esau, that they would, not be isolated from one another like they originally intended. They actually become bitter enemies, don't they? They're constantly at war with each other. So let's go ahead and read Genesis chapter 36. We're going to read the entire chapter. This is a long one, verse 1 all the way to 43. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zebeon the Hivite, and sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble today, and Bishamath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth, and Adah bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bashima bare Rael. I'm going to be butchering these names, so just be prepared for that. If you're able to pronounce them, good for you. I cannot. So, verse 5. And Aholibamah bare Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which was born unto him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives, and his sons, and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir, Esau in Edom. Is Edom, sorry. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Rael, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Getam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Rael, Neheth, and Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These were dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau: Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Getam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. And these are the sons of Rael, Esau's son: Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shammah, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came of Rael in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife: Duke Jaash, Duke Jalam, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom. And these are their dukes. Okay? You guys know how I am about these generations, but we're not skipping anything. So, verse 20. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land: Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anna, and Dishon, and Izar, and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir, in the land of Edom. And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And the children of Shobal were these: Alvin, and Manath, and Ebal, Shepo, and Onam. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Asia and Anna. This was that Anna that found the mules in the wilderness, and he fed the asses of Zibeon his father. And the children of Anna were these, Dishan and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna. And these are the children of Dishan, Hemdan and Ishban and Ithran and Sharon. The children of Izar are these, Bilhan and Zavan and Akan. The children of Dishan are these, Uz and Aran. These are the dukes that came of the Horites, Duke Lotan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, Duke Anna, Duke Dishan, Duke Ezer, Duke Dishan. These are the dukes that came of Hori, among their dukes in the land of Seir. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. And Bela the son of Beor reigned in Edom, and the name of the city was Dinhabah. And Bela died, and Jobab the son of Zerah and Bozrah reigned in his stead. And Jobab died, and Hisham of the land of Temani reigned in his stead. And Husham died, and Hodad the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Avith. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah reigned in his stead. And Simea died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Saul died, and Balhanan the son of Akbar reigned in his stead. And Balhana the son of Akbar died, and Hadar reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Pau. And his wife's name was Mehetobal, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mizahab. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names: Duke Timnah, Duke Alva, Duke Japheth, Duke Ahalabama, Duke Elah, Duke Panan, Duke Kenez, Duke Teman, Duke Mibzar, Duke Magdiel, Duke Iram. These are the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. Like I said, these generations, they can get kind of hectic to go over, but we don't skip them. Okay, these are important because eventually they lead us to Jesus, right? So, of course, not through Esau here, but so what we do after we get done, if this is your first time, is we reread the first verse and then we work our way forward. So the first verse today was verse 1 of chapter 36, which says, "Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom." So we see now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom, right? So Edom became Esau's surname, so he became basically Esau Edom. And that was because of that red pottage that we saw him sell his birthright for, right? No, we can actually read about that if you want. We can flip back and look at it. Chapter 25, verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. Now, his posterity is not here. Well, I should say they are here, but they're only here because of him being the son of Isaac, okay? But also because his posterity should be mentioned, shouldn't it? We should read about that, right? And in my opinion, that's why it's here. Just as a way to illustrate that, now, this name's a pain to... I got it on my notes here, guys. When you see me looking down, my notes are down here as well. Maimonides think... That's actually a name of a biblical historian. He thinks that it's because we see Amalek. Because Amalek is a branch of the family of Esau. We see it get destroyed at God's command, right? And so that makes it necessary for us to tell the rest of the story, or about before they perish together. There are other explanations, I should say, that can be given as well, like this one, just to show us the fulfillment of the promise of Abraham. Remember, because your children shall be as more numerous than the sands of the sea. They will multiply. And how about the oracle of Rebekah as well? Remember, hers was 2 nations will come from her womb. One would be, of course, these Edomites here. And then the other, of course, being, Isaac and his family. Or Jacob and his family. Verse 2. Esau took his wives and the daughters of Canaan, Adah the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Abala. I want to pronounce her name Alabama. When you look at her name, it's just the way I want to pronounce it, but it's Abulabama. The daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibeon, the Hivite. So verse 2 goes on to say this. It says, and Esau took his wives and the daughters of Canaan, or took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, right? So we discussed this before, but you see, Esau's wives, all of them, except for one, were Canaanites. They were from those cursed people of Canaan. Like I said, most of them, not all of them, though. You remember, one of them is Ishmael's daughter, which we see here in a few. Anyway, the verse goes on to say, Adah, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Now, the only thing that I can tell you here is that Jarki, as well as Aben Ezra, they both say that she had 2 names, and that she is Bashemath, the Bashemath that we read about back in Genesis chapter 26, verse 34. And Esau was 40 years old when he took the wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Right? And then we read what? It says, and Ahubalama, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. You should know by now, but because you've been listening to me for a while, that the Bible records family differently than you or I do. So what this is saying is that she's the daughter of the one, okay, and also the granddaughter of the other one. In the Bible, we quite frequently see grandchildren listed as children. Zibeon and Allah were father and son, okay? It's more clear when you look at the Samaritan text, as well as the Septuagint and the Syriac version. They all read it this way. The daughter of Anah, the son of Zibeon. Okay? Now, let me also back up a minute and mention this. There are an Anah and Zibeon who were called brothers. That's right. We read that later on in verse 20. And this has Aben Ezra actually saying that they were either brothers or father and son. And he says that maybe they both had sexual relations with the same woman, and that it's possible that could clear this up as well. And he says that this is why they call her the daughter of both of them. Now, let's also look at something else. Jarki says that this wife of Esau here, called Judith, is the same that we read about back in Genesis chapter 6, verse 34. And Esau was 40 years old, and he took the wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. But I'm going to let you know what I think. And not only are the names different, okay, but the fathers' names are different as well. And also the tribe, that's also different. So do with that what you will. So let's go on to verse 3. And Bashemath is Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. So here we see her, right? Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. Now, when we look back at Genesis chapter 2, verse 9, watch me have written down the wrong verse, but we're going to look anyway. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree. Yep, I wrote down the wrong one, didn't I? I bet that was... Well, I don't know where that one is. I'm sorry, I wrote down the wrong one, and I have no idea why I did that. Anyway, what we see there, I do have it in my notes here, but what we see there is Nebajoth is called Mahalath, and he was Ishmael's oldest son. Now, about his wives, I want to remind you this. Just like we discussed before, Esau's family, they're not happy with the women he married. Okay, they were, because the Canaanites are actually forbidden from marrying into, or the Hebrews are forbidden from marrying, the Canaanites. Isaac and Rebekah, they were of course very disappointed with who Esau married, especially because they were Canaanite women, right? And we actually saw Rebekah make sure to say that it weighed heavy on her. So let's go on to verse 4 now. And Adah bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bashemath bare Reuel. Now, verse 4 says, and Adah bare to Esau Eliphaz. Now, according to Jerome, I want to make sure you know that, okay, because this isn't me. According to Jerome, this son that we read of here with Esau, Eliphaz, is the same Eliphaz that we see mentioned in the book of Job as one of his friends, okay? Now, so we'll read that again real quick. Job chapter 2, verse 11. I thought that light would help me, but it didn't. So I came to Jerusalem. Wait a minute. Flip back too far. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. Now the Targum of Jonathan says the same exact thing on Genesis chapter 36, verse 10. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Reuel the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. But I think, and I think I said this while reviewing Job, but I think that he was most likely, this Eliphaz here is the grandfather of that Eliphaz that we see in Job. Why? Because he's called a Temanite. And then we read here, and Bashemath bare Reuel. Now, the name here that we see are two different. We actually see it two different ways. We see Reuel and Raguel, which is Jethro's name. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that he is Jethro. Don't you ever say I said that. I know some say that he is, but you see, again, Jethro is a Midianite. These right here are Edomites. Two totally different people. Now, I'll show you. You can read what I mean. Look here at Exodus chapter 2, verse 18. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, "How is it that you are come so soon today?" Now, looking at the names here, we have Ada, right? And her name means ornament or beauty, if you will. We have Eliphaz, and we've talked about this before, but Eliphaz means god of gold, or if you want, god of fine gold. And then we have Bashemath. Now, Bashemath means fragrance. And of course, Reuel means friend of God, or God is a friend. So let's read on. Genesis chapter 36, verse 5. And Aholibamah bare Jeush and Jalam and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. And Aholibamah bare Jeush and Jalam and Korah. Why am I making sure to point this one out? Because it's very interesting. It's very interesting because we're seeing a mention of another Korah. This one, of course, being Eliphaz's sons. Down in verse 16, take a look. Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Ada. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because when I was reading Jarkey believes that this is the same exact Korah, and that he is a bastard who was born through incest by Eliphaz, and that Eliphaz had sex with Aholibamah. Now, I am a believer that there were more than two Korahs, okay? Now, one was, of course, the son of Aholibamah, and the other the son of Ada. Aben Ezra, he believes that there was only one, just like Jarkey. That he was the son of Aholibamah, and that he's listed as Eliphaz's son because he lived with him. Now, could it be that his mother died while he was very young, and Ada brought him up as her own son? I mean, that would cause him to be listed as the son, right? Like the children of Michal, the daughter of Saul. Anyway, the verse goes on to say, "These are the sons of Esau, which were born to him in the land of Canaan." Now, did he have other sons outside of Canaan? If he did, we're never told. So, if you go by what we're reading here and look at the wives that Esau had, some say there were 4, others say 5. So, out of him we have 5 sons. We also see no daughters mentioned here. But in the next verse, it does seem like he had some daughters. But let's talk about his sons' names first. We see Jeush, Jeush. That name actually means collector. And then we see Jalam, Jaalam, and his name means God hides. And then we have Korah, Korah, a name which means baldness. Verse 6. And Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. So it says, and Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters. Just like I said, we know what his wives' names are. we know the names of his sons, but what are the daughters? I could find nothing on them. I couldn't find their names. I couldn't find out how many of them there were. Anyway, and we read, and all the persons of his house, meaning his manservants, his maidservants, the ones that were born in his house, the ones that he bought for money, all of them. When we see that word persons, that means souls. We also see it sometimes used for slaves that were bought and sold. So look at Ezekiel chapter 27, verse 13. Javan, Tubal, Meshach, they were thy merchants. They traded the persons of men and vessels of brass in thy market. And then we see here in verse 6 again, and his cattle and his beasts. Now this, of course, are his sheep and oxen, his camels, his asses, all of that. The verse says, and all his substance which he had got in the land of Canaan, meaning before he went to Seir the first time. We might have, he might have left some of it behind here in Canaan, with some servants to take care of it. Also, part of this could have been his father's estate, because he would have inherited something when he died. And the verse then says, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. Now, this does not mean that he went into another part of the same country. This literally means he went to another country. The Targum of both Onkelos and Jonathan make that perfectly clear. And, so does the Arabic version. They say, even unto Seir. And that matches what we read right here in a few, doesn't it? Now, maybe when he was in Seir the first time, maybe he obtained a large amount of possessions, and now he got a lot more after his father died. And so when he goes, he knew he had all these things. He felt like, hey, I'm going to go back to Seir because maybe he liked living there, right? So God put it on his mind, hey, I need to leave. And why would God put that there? That way Jacob and his descendants could live in the land that was meant for them. Okay, now when you look at the Samaritan version as well as the Septuagint, you'll read this, and he went out of the land of Canaan. And then we have the Syriac version, which says this, and he went to the land of Seir. Now, I did see where there are some people who say that this means that he went there before coming to Jacob. We know that it is true that he went there before Jacob came back, right? But you see, the Bible doesn't speak about that. And I think that is because what we read here, in a little bit anyway, does not agree with it. Others, of course, better, because of Jacob. Now, not because he was afraid of him, like the Targum of Jonathan paraphrases it. They actually have it say, for the terror of his brother Jacob was cast upon him. Because you see, Esau, he knew that by his father's blessing, as well as the oracle of God, and his, the protection of God that he saw, that the land of Canaan belongs to Jacob. Okay, so let's look at verse 7 now. For their riches were more than they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. So look what it says right there. It says, were more than that they might dwell together. What that means is it was crowded. The grazing area was crowded. The living areas for the people, that was crowded. So this was the final straw, and it leads Esau to just move to Edom permanently. Okay? And as we know, he already had a home there, didn't he? Because don't forget, we read about that back in chapter 32, verse 3, chapter 33, verse 14, and 16. This fits into God's plan. We see Esau and his family leave, and that leaves the land to Jacob, because it was Abraham's descendants through Jacob, and then Jacob, or through Isaac, and then Jacob, that's who he wanted to possess the land. Now, we never see if Esau figured this out, okay, or if he just came to accept the promises of God to Jacob. But we do know that his descendants, they of course try to deny Israel their land. Now, I want to address this also. A lot of people have looked at verse 6 by itself, and they like to think that the two brothers were fighting again. I can understand that. But when we look at verse 7, we can tell that they weren't. You see, God blessed both of them so abundantly that they did not have enough grass for their animals. So Esau decided, hey, I'll just take my family and my animals, and I'll leave the area to you, my brother. Verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. It starts off right there with this. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Do you remember what we read back in chapter 32? It said that he was in the land of Seir. Now, here in this verse, we read that he's in the mount with the same name. And he got this, of course, by driving the Horites out. I think I said this before, but it does bear repeating. It got its name from a Horite named Seir, who lived there in the land. And we will get to that when we reach verse 20. One thing that I found interesting when I was looking at the Targum of Jonathan is that it called the Mount Gabla, and that it was one part of the land of Edom, or Adumea, as Josephus put it, and it was called Gobalites. Maybe it's the same as we actually read, called Jebel in Psalm 83:7. Jebel and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Anyway, the point we're talking about all this is because this is where Esau went and he lived there. And he and his brother Jacob, when you look at this, guys, they departed amicably. Esau, he went and he stayed in Seir. Jacob, he stayed there. He lived quietly in the land of Canaan. And the verse says this, it says, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. When we look at a couple of other verses in other books, specifically Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 5, meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. And then Joshua chapter 24, verse 4. And I gave unto Isaac, Jacob, and Esau And I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. What do we see there? We see that it was divinely assigned to Esau. God gave it to him, right? The verse ends with this. Esau is Edom. Remember, Edom means red. He was called that because of the red pots that he had taken in exchange for his birthright. Do you notice that this is constantly repeated? And that's because of the hatred of this transaction. Also, because of what we read in the next verse, as a way of showing why his descendants were called Edomites. Verse 9. These are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Seir. And these are the generations of Esau, meaning his descendants, his children, his grandchildren, so on and so forth. The ones that we saw before. The verse then says, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir, meaning this is where the people of the mountain and the country got their name from, okay, because they're all called the Edomites. Now, we will not read it here today or I should say, we're not here today to read it and try basically, I'm trying to conserve a little bit of time here. But I do invite you when you're not here watching, or if you want to pause the video now and read it, go read verses 10 through 14 and compare them to what you can read in 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verses 35, 36, and 37. So, verse 10 now. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. These are the names of Esau's sons. So, this lets us know who we're about to read about. Esau's sons. Here in this verse, as well as the following verses. These names, they agree with what we read before, right? There's no differences. We also see his grandsons named here as well. We start off with these. Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau. I think his name is listed first because, well, he's the first son by the first wife. And then we see Reuel, the son of Bashemath, and wife of Esau. His second son by another wife, meaning this is his second son, but it's his first son by a different wife. And this, of course, is Ishmael's daughter here as well. We read about her back in verse 3, remember? So, verse 11. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. The sons of Eliphaz. And the son of Eliphaz were Teman. Again, like I said, Eliphaz was the firstborn son. His firstborn son was Teman, right? And that's where the city of Teman got its name from. Take a look at Jeremiah 49:7. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Now, this is the reason that we later in Job, okay, we see Eliphaz called a Temanite. Anyway, we see four more sons mentioned here. We see Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz, right? Now notice that I mentioned their names together. That's quite simple because when I was researching, I couldn't find any cities. I couldn't find any towns. I couldn't find any villages. I found nothing. Not even a part of the land of Edom was named after them. Now, this is not important. But I do want to say that the name Gatam, Gatam, means penny, Penny. Just saying. Anyway, verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. So do you remember Seir the Horite? Read that part again. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's wife. Timnah. While I was doing some research, I found that people believe that she's the sister of Lotan. Now, I mentioned Lotan because he was the eldest son of Seir. We will discuss this when we get up to verse 22. Anyway, then we read this. Read with me. 1 Chronicles 1:36. The sons of Eliphaz, Teman and Omar, Zepha and Gatam, Kenaz and Timnah and Amalek. Do you see how it mentions Timnah among the sons of Eliphaz? And also as Duke Timnah in verse 40. The verse says, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. Amalek is where the Amalekites come from. We see them mentioned several times in the Bible. In fact, we see the Israelites are ordered to destroy them in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 18. And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. The verse then says this. It says, These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. This is talking about his grandsons, okay? I do want to back up for just a second and say this. This Amalek here is not the father of the Amalekites. I want to make sure you understand that. Because I'm saying this because that tribe was mentioned way back before we even saw him born. I want to make sure to clear that up before we move on. Verse 13. These are the sons of Rael, Nahath, and Zerah, Shammah and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. We read about another one of Esau's sons here. We see, and these are the sons of Rael. This son here, Rael, he had 4 sons. We see them all named here. Nahath and Zerah, Shema and Mizah. These sons here, couldn't find anything about them except for their names. Unless, and let me stress this, unless Maps or Mesa, the person that Ptolemy puts in Adumea, is Mizrah here, we see these were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these, like I said, would be her grandsons. Moving on, verse 14. These were the sons of Holabama, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush and Jalam and Korah. These are the sons of Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. Remember what we read back in verse, I want to mention that if you look at the Samaritan and the Septuagint version, they read the daughter of Anah, the son of Zibeon. I found that interesting. Anyway, we see, and she bare to Esau Jeush and Jalem and Korah. This is actually just a repeat of what we read back in verse 5. Now I want you to notice that there's no mention of her grandchildren. I found that interesting, because with the other wives, we saw a list of them. I think, I just want to clarify that this is just another list of Esau's family here. Verse 15. These were dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz. Right here we start to see some interesting wording. Okay? These were dukes. Now, today we are familiar with that word, duke. But you may not know the meaning of the word, because it means ruler of 1,000. And that's how it was used right here in this verse. But it's used differently in Zechariah chapter 12, verses 5 and 6. And the governor of Judah And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left hand, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. It's used for tribal princes, okay? Or clan leaders, if you would rather use that term. The political and military leaders of Edom. Now, this could suggest that there were very, very loose tribal confederacy right here in Edom. So let's move on to verse 16 now. Duke Korah, Duke Gitam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Ada. Look at the people here. We see Duke Korah. This is the only son of Eliphaz mentioned. And I say this because he wasn't listed before. And now let me make let's make that conspiracy more suspicious to you, shall we? Get us completely left out of he gets completely left out of the Samaritan version as well. I could also bring up what Gorodonisi says, because he said that this is the same one that we saw mentioned in 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 36. The sons of Eliphaz, Teman and Omar, Zilpah and Gatam, Kenaz and Timnah, and Amalek. Timnah, one of the sons of Eliphaz, he was called by his father Korah. But this might just be Eliphaz's grandson here. Verse 17. And these are the sons of Reuel, Esau's son, Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shema, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came of Reuel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemeth, Esau's wife. Now, reading this, I don't have a lot to say about this verse, but it does say, and these are the sons of Reuel. Reuel here is the son of Esau that we read about back in verse 15. So let's keep moving now, verse 18. And these are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife, Duke Jeush, Duke Jalem, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came of Aholibamah, the daughter of Anna, Esau's wife. Not much to say here either. But again, I want you to look at this part. These are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife. This one again takes us back to verse 15. Because we see Aholibamah here again. Verse 19. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. At the open here, we see these are the sons of Esau. I could once again call you back to verse 15. But I feel that there are two important things that we need to look at here. Like I said, the dukes are our tribal leaders, right? And if you remember the blessing that God bestowed on Esau, it had to do with blessing him here on earth. The spiritual blessing, of course, that went to Jacob. And Jacob is Israel. Now, before we reread verse 20 through 28, I want you to look at something with me. First Chronicles chapter 1. We're going to look at verses 38 through 42. And the sons of Seir, Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anna, and Dishan, and Ezer, and Dishan. The sons of Lotan, Hori, and Homaim, and Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shobal, Alian, and Manamath, and Ebal, Shephi, and Onam. And the sons of Zibeon, Aiah, and Anna. The sons of Anna, Dishan, and the sons of Dishan, Amram, and Ishban, and Ithran, and Sharon. The sons of Ezer, Bilhan, and Zavan, and Jachin, the son of Dishan, Uz, and Aran. So keep all that in mind as we move on. We're going to go to verse 20 now. These are the sons of Seir the Hittite, who inhabited the land of Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anna. So right here, what we're starting right here is we're reading about Seir the Horite. Okay, we're reading about his descendants. And it says, these are the sons of Seir the Horite who inhabited the land. Now, let me say this. If you were to look at the Targum of Jonathan, it actually adds the word before, meaning before Esau. Before Esau and his family came into the land and it became called Edom. The Horites, they lived here before him. Okay? We see that when we look over when we look at what happens before during the time of Abraham back in chapter 14, verse 6. And the Horites in their Mount Seir unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Now, I did find this interesting. They were called the Horites. Why? Why were they called the Horites? That's simple. They lived in holes, basically caves. And if you look at the furthest part of the land of Edom, you'll actually find plenty of caves. And they're the same people that the Greeks actually called the troglodytes, meaning those who live in caves. Jarkey actually says, and this comes from Jewish authorities, by the way, that They were experts in the nature of the land, that they knew what was fur for olives as well as for vines. Anyway, like I said, we're reading the genealogy of Seir the Horite here, and this is partially just a way of showing us, where the ancient inhabitants of the land, before they were driven away, and of course succeeded by Esau and his sons. So let's look at something real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 12. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? As well as, partially because Esau had intermarried with him. Okay, remember that as well. This is how they easily came into possession of the country. Like I said, Esau, he marries Anna's daughter, and he was the son of Zibeon, a son of Seir, right? Look back at verse 11. And then we see Eliphaz. Eliphaz takes Timnah, a sister of Lotan, the son of Seir, to be his concubine. We saw that in verse 12. And then we see the names of the sons of Seir. We see them listed as Lotan and Shobal and Zibeon and Allah. So here's something interesting that I did dig up. Lotan is believed to be Latinus, who was a king that ruled in Italy, and from what I read, they believe this because of the name, how close they are. Did you notice how Zibeon and Anna are spoken of as brethren? But like I told you earlier, we see them spoken of as father and son. According to, and this is some Jewish writers, they actually believe that Zibeon committed incest with his mother, and Anna was born from that. And that's why he's called brother, because, they had the same mother. And some, because, son, I should say, because, he is. Now, I think that the writers, they just came up with this as a way of reproaching the Edomites. Okay, verse 21. And Dishan and Ezer and Dishan, these are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir, in the land of Edom. So we see here that Seir is listed in the land of Edom. Now, Edom is a rugged desert. It extends for roughly about 100 miles. All the way from Wadi Zerad, all the way to the Gulf of Aqaba. I can't. We see the descendants of Esau that they settle here. And when we look at Numbers chapter 20, verses 14 to 18, what do we see? And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, Thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt, and we have dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice, and sent an angel, and hath brought us forth out of Egypt, and behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor the left, until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, And if I and my cattle drink of thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people and with a strong hand. I read a little bit further than I meant to. Now, the King's Highway that you saw here, it passed through during the Middle Bronze Age. Now, let's talk about what you will read if you look at the archaeology. You'll find that archaeologists say that in all their excavations, they find that the area was occupied by various Bedouin tribes who were ruled over by their own chieftains. Dukes, if you want, until about the 14th century BC. After that, the Edomites, they stayed a constant threat to the Israelites up until they were conquered by King David in 2 Samuel chapter 8 verse 13. In the time that the monarchy was divided, Edom, they regained their independence. We see that the prophets of Israel, they denounced their hostility towards the people of God. Now later, they were subjugated by the Assyrians, and then they were overrun by the Nabateans in the 3rd century BC. I want to take a moment just to say this. Horite means whole. Seir means rugged. Latin means wrapped up. Shobal means plowing. Deshan means gazelle. Ezer means treasure. I said this earlier, but these people, the Horites, they lived in caves. This country that they lived in was very rugged, and that's probably where that name came from. We know that Aholibama was a Horite, and so was Timnah the concubine of Eliphaz. So, verse 22. And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. It starts off with, and the children of Lotan were Hori and Homam, or Hamam. Now, Hori here, his name is the general name for the tribe. And Hamam is later called Homam in 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 39. And the sons of Lotan, Hori and Homam, and Timnah was Lotan's sister. And then we see this. We see, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. When we go back to verse 12, we see Eliphaz took Timnah, who is Lotan's sister, as his concubine. And this is the reason we see the relationship mentioned. I also feel that this relationship is mentioned even though there are 7 brethren, because she is his sister by both mother and father, okay? And the others are only by the father. You see, oftentimes you'll see, we saw that earlier as well, didn't we? So let's continue on, chapter 30, verse 23. And the children of Shobal were these: Alvin and Manath and Ebal, Shepho and Onam. We start off with this. And the children of Shobal were these. Now Shobal is the second son of Seir. Alright? And we see his 5 sons listed here. We see Alvin and Manath and Ebal and Shepho and Onam. We see Alvin mentioned, we see Alvin called a lion and Shepho called Shepai over in 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 40. That's all I got to say about that verse. So, verse 24. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Asia and Anna. This was that Anna was... Sorry, I had to hit a button on my computer. Verse 24. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Asia and Anna. This was that Anna that found the mules in the wilderness, and he fed the asses of Zibeon his father. I had to hit this button because I want to make sure that I got all this in for you, because we start off here with what? And these are the sons of Zibeon. Now Zibeon is, of course, the third son of Seir. He had two sons. We see them listed, Ezek and Anna, right? We, of course, see more about Anna here, though. And that's what I wanted to make sure I got into here. And it says, this was that Anna that found the mules in the wilderness as he fed the asses of Zibeon his father. Now, what is said is that he was out feeding his father's asses. And the males actually coupled with some mares. It was either male asses and female horses, or maybe it was, male horses and female asses. Either way, there was a new creature born, ones that we now call a mule. Now, Asia means screamer. Anna was, and you might remember this, the father-in-law of Esau. That's right. This story here is the first mention of mules. Verse 25. And the children of Anah were these, Dishan and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah. Now, I want to mention this part at first. And the children of Anah were these. I want to make sure to start with this one because we see his children listed. First, we see Dishan. That was also the name of one of his uncles, okay? We read about that back in verse 21. And then we see an Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah. Now, I feel I should say that Aben Ezra, he made sure to mention that this is not the same Anah. Okay? Why? Because there's no reason to mention his name again, because we just read it. But that this Anah here is the same one that was mentioned back in verse 2. But you see, if this is not the same Anah that we see in the previous verse, it makes it difficult to understand him being mentioned here at all. So it seems that this is the same one. Even though it's difficult for us to understand this, the Anah and Ahilabath in that verse represent the Hivites, and these are the Horites. But there's also another observation that we need to look at. Ainsworth says that the Horites were part of the Hivites originally. And since Aholibamah is the wife of Esau, this seems to be the reason that it's taken notice of here. Oh, also notice this. She's completely omitted in 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 41. Look. The sons of Anah, Dishan, and the sons of Dishan, Amram and Ishban, and Ithran and Sharon. It's completely omitted. Verse 26 now. And these are the children of Dishan, Himban, and Eshban, and Ithran, and Sharon. Let's start with this. Well, let's start with the start. And these are the sons of Dishan. This is not the Dishan that is the son of Anah. This one is the son of Seir, the one that we saw back in verse 21. And the same ones, and his sons are the same ones listed here. Their names are Himdan and Ishban and Ithran and Sharon. The only one that I have information on is Himdan. And we see him listed again in 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 41, where he's called Amram. The sons of Anah, Dishan, the sons of Dishan, Amram, and Ishban, and Ithran, and Sharon. So let's continue on, verse 27 now. The children of Ezer are these, Bilhan and Zavan and Achan. The children of Ezer are these. Ezer is another one of the sons of Seir. And we're, of course, reading about his sons here, right? We're reading about Bilhan, Zavan, and Ashan. The last two are spoken of later, Zavan and Achan. They're called Zavan and Jachan in 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 42. We're going to be going back to that one a lot. The sons of Ezer, Bilhan and Zavan and Jachan. The son of Dishan, Uz and Aran. So let's look at verse 28 now. These are the dukes that came of the Horites: Duke Latan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, and Duke Anna. Now this one says the children of... Did I skip too far? Yeah, I did, and I skipped a whole verse. Verse 28, sorry about that. The children of Dishan are these, Uz and Aran. This one says the children of Dishan are these. Now Dishan is the last, the seventh son of Seir, and he has two sons. They are Uz and Aran, right? Okay, Uz is the namesake of Uz, the home of the Edomites. We see that in Lamentations 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughters of Edom, that dwell in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. Now, I did see where some think, and I have no arguments on this, that the Uz mentioned is the home of Job. I have no arguments with that. To me, it seems very possible. Now, verse 29. These are the dukes that came of the Horites: Duke Latan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, Duke Anna. So it says that these are the dukes, right, that came from the Horites. Now that does not mean that they were like a line of succession. No, not like kings. This is saying that they were dukes at the same time. Each one of them a head of a family, right? And in the next verse, we see the seven sons of Seir. And they're especially in the order of in their order with their titles of Duke Latan, and so on and so forth. Verse 30. Duke Dishan, Duke Ezer, Duke Dishan. These are the dukes that came of Hori among their dukes in the land of Seir. So these are the dukes that came of Hori. Hori was an ancestor of Seir. Okay, remember, he was called a Horite among their dukes in the land of Seir. Now, this is not saying that there were dukes other than them. Okay, not until Esau came, anyway. Just that they were the inhabitants that were there in the land of Gabla or Seir. The Targum of Jonathan actually has it say in or according to their dukedom. The Septuagint, just the same way the Septuagint says it. It just means that their respective families, where they had their own government. As we read on, we see a mention of kings. This was before there were ever any kings of Israel. So I want you to think about that. Because sandwiched here, instead of the genealogy of Edom, we see a statement, a prophecy, if you will, of Israel's kingship. Look at Genesis chapter 17, verse 6. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Verse 16. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then we have chapter 35, verse 11. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come of thy loins. And then you can keep going on. Numbers chapter 24, verse 7. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. And then verses 17 and 18. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. And Israel shall do valiantly. So, you can just read on and on and on and on. Deuteronomy chapter 17. Verses 14 through 20. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will see a king over me, like as all the nations there are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among the brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto ye, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart shall turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, out of that which is before the priests of the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord thy God, his God, to keep all the words of his law and that statutes to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandments to the right hand and to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. You might notice something. The list of kings does not introduce a dynasty. Just pay attention. None of the rulers were the son of the previous one. You'll see. The word king most likely here points to just a ruler over a, let's say, a people group or a settled group, a tribe, right? Verse 31. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. It states it right there. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom. Well, it should say the land that would become Edom, right? Because remember, it was not called Edom when these particular kings ruled. In my research, I saw where Bishop Cumberland and the ones that followed him, these would have been Horite kings who set up their kingdom after defeating, I'm going to butcher this word, Chedorlaomer in Genesis chapter 14, verse 5. When you look at what we're reading here, these kings, they seem to be elected. And Maimonides observes that none of them were from Edom. And the verse says that they were before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. You see, Israel, they didn't have a king, not until many years after Moses died. And this has caused a lot of arguments that those words were added later. But why? Don't forget, Moses, he knew that there would be kings. There were all these promises, all these prophecies. Just look at Genesis chapter 17, verse 6. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of these, and kings shall come out of thee. Like I said, don't forget, he was so certain that there would be a king that he, by the direction of God, he gave laws and rules for a future king. We read that already. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. Also, don't forget this. Moses technically was a king in Jeshurun, or Israel. When we look at Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 5. So if you wanted, you could read this as him saying these were the kings that reigned in Edom before this time. I think that all of these verses about dukes was meant to lead us to this verse right here. The world, they had these kings, right? These earthly rulers over them. To them, these guys were their kings. But Israel was ruled by God and God alone, okay? That they did not have an earthly king, okay? In the next few verses, we see more about this. So, verse 32. And Bela the son of Beor reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhaba. So, we see about this, it says, and Bela the son of Beor reigned in Edom. Now, the Septuagint says that his name is Belak, but the Bible doesn't. This has led a lot of people to get very confused here. They think that he is Balak, the king of Moab, and he's not. Just like how he's not Balaam, the son of Beor, okay? They all lived years and years apart. Ibn Ezra says the same thing. All we know about this Bela is what we read here. The first Horite king. And then we see, and the name of his city was Dinhaba. This could mean where he was born. Or maybe this is where he was the governor over. But again, we read nothing else. The name Dinhaba means concealment or little place. Verse 33. And Bela died, and Jobab the son of Zerah and of Bozrah reigned in his stead. And Bela died. We know very little about him. Did he have any sons? I don't know. If he did, we see they didn't take the throne. We also do not know, how long he reigned. That's not told us either. We see that Jobab, the son of Zerah of Bozrah, reigned in his stead. Interestingly, I read that there are some people who think that he was Job. But, again, this isn't possible. The names are different. Their ages are different. The country's different. There's nothing that agrees with it. So, who was he? Who is this Zerah that was his father? We don't know. This Bozrah seems to be in the same country that Jobab reigned. It was a famous city in Idumea. We see the prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah and a few others speak of this place. Take a look over, if you want to read about that, Isaiah chapter 34, verse 6. Now, reading Jarkey, I saw him say that it was a city of Moab. And sure, you can find it, sometimes mentioned in Moab. Sometimes Edom. Because it's on the border of both of them. Sometimes it belongs to one, and sometimes it belongs to the other. So, continuing on, verse 34. And Jobab died, and Husham of the land of Timnah reigned in his stead. It says, and Husham of the land of Timni reigned in his stead. So the Targum of Jonathan says the land to the south, the southern part of the land of Idumea. The metropolis was a city called Timon, as it's called in the Bible after this. And it got its name from the son of Eliphaz, meaning, Timon, remember? So continuing on, verse 35. And Husham died, and Hudab the son of Bedab, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Avia. We get us another king here. Hadab the son of Bedab, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. Again, who was he? Who was Hadab? Who was his father Bedad? We get nothing. What about that battle? In my opinion, but I think that the Midianites came out and they invaded, and when he heard about it, he came up against them and he met them on the fields of Moab. We know, if you've been following me for a while, that's near Midian, and he fought them there and he conquered them. Jarkey does try to explain it. He says that the Midianites came out to make war with the Moabites, and that the king of Edom went out to help. And he says that we learned that Midian and Moab were very close together. Again, we know that during the days of Balaam, they had made peace. They attacked Israel together. This battle was fought during the 12th year of his reign, and it's also believed that this was when Esau came to live in Seir with his family. But there are some who think that it could have been, during the reign of his successor. One last thing I do want to make sure I say, the name of the city was Avith. Where is that? I can find nothing on it. It seems no one else could find anything on it either. I searched and searched and searched, and verse 36. And Hadad died, and Samiah of Mashrika reigned in his stead. Who is this guy? And Mashrika? Guys, I'm sorry, I have no idea. I couldn't find anything else on them. So, verse 37. And Samiah died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. It says the next king was Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. Now, Rehoboth was one of the cities that was built by Asher. You can read that back in Genesis chapter 10, verse 11. Okay, and it was situated near the great river Euphrates. In fact, the Targum of Jonathan calls it Rehoboth, which is by Euphrates. But then Jerome from Eusebius, he takes it as another city altogether, by a river that is in Edom, and says that there was, in his day, a garrison in the country of Gabaliah, which is a part of Idumea, a large village that was called by that name. So, verse 38. And Saul died, and Baal-Hanan, the son of Achbar, reigned in his stead. And Baal-Hanan, the son of Achbar. This really shows us nothing, but I thought that it would be cool, as I have very little else to say about this one, but Grotius observed that if you rearrange the letters in his name, you get Hannibal. And Hannibal means gracious lord or king. Anyway, verse 39. And Baal-Hanan, the son of Achbar, died, and Hadar reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. So, and Hadar reigned in his stead. So this right here was the last of the Horite kings, because after this, the families, they united with the people of Seir and Esau, and it then becomes a dukedom. And there were about 7 dukes of Seir and about 14 from Esau. And as you know, we've already seen an account of those. Anyway, of the last king, we see, and the name of his city was Pal. Now, Pal was, I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it. And then we see, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezabhab. So his wife seems to be someone who was of very high esteem. People loved her. We see her name, right? So we see her family names. We see her family's name as well, and they are. Is that a man or a woman? I don't know. Again, I couldn't find anything else on them anywhere. So, verse 40. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names: Duke Timnah, Duke Alva, Duke Jetheth. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, right? So after these regal monarchs, after all that ended, the government in Edom became these dukes. And we see that there were two sons. One of them we already read a little bit about, and he was part of the race of Seir, and part of the race from Esau as well. Again, these dukes were not crowned. They didn't have any type of succession. They were together, in and over their own families. We may also observe that neither Esau nor his sons, by his first wives, Eliphaz or Reuel, were called dukes. Only the three sons by his last wife. The rest of them are all his grandsons and sons, and the two former ones. I think that this shines just a little bit of light on when these dukes ruled. And this was most likely by the influence of Seir and Esau. The two families had intermarried, and they probably put an end to to the regals. You might have noticed that they were called dukes in the land of Edom before, and then later they're called dukes of Edom. They drove the Horites out. They succeeded in their stead. So look at this verse again. According to their families, meaning that they were the heads of their own families. And then we see after their places by their names. We've seen this before, haven't we? It means the place where they lived, which were called after their names. And then we see this: Duke Timnah, Duke Alva, Duke Jetheth. These are the names of the dukes, and as well as the places where they ruled. So Timnah over Thimnah, as Jerome called it, and he also calls it the city of the princes of Edom. He says the same for Jetheth. So we could assume he would say the same about Alva too. Verse 41. Duke Aholobama, Duke Elah, Duke Pinon. Whoa. Back up. Read that again. Duke Aholobama, Duke Elah, Duke Pinon. Ladies, that first one there is the name of a woman. Remember? But stop. I'm not trying to confuse you. The reason I'm mentioning this is because this has caused some confusion. But this Aholobama here is the name of a man. And it's also the place of which he was a duke. Now, Elah here, Jerome says that is Elath, a country of the prince of Edom, as well as the city of Esau. 10 miles east of Petra, the seat of Duke Pinon. It was probably Phenon, which was between Petra and Zoar. Verse 42. Duke Kenaz, Duke Timon, Duke Mibzar. Duke Kenaz, Duke Timon, Duke Biz. No, I'm not singing some weird song. Now, this Kenaz here, we do know that there was a Kenaz who was the son of Eliphaz. And Timon was also his son. And we see that both were dukes. But stop. This doesn't seem to be those two. Even though Timon could have been Duke of Timon, named after him, and in Jerome's time, there was a village about 5 miles from Petra, and there was a Roman garrison there. And Mabsar was a large village in the country of Gabalina, which was a part of Adumia, and was called Mabsara. That belonged to Petra. So here we are, the last verse of the day, verse 43. Duke Magdiel, Duke Aram, these be the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. So it says, these be the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. So these dukes were dukes in the land of Edom. They were sojourners in the land. They had no dominion. Or they were not the only dukes in it. Remember, there were dukes in Seir. Now they've driven the Horites out, they were the sole possessors and sovereign lords there. Think about this. Israel and his posterity, they were sojourners in a strange land, right? Esau and his family, they now have possession of a land. They're lords of a country. It's theirs. It's their own. They own it now. The verse then says, he is Esau, the father of the Edomites. Edom, the dukes of a race that we just discussed. The same Esau who got the name Edom from selling his birthright for a bowl of porridge in a red pot. Esau is the man that the Edomites, or Adumians, came from. They are spoken of after this in Scripture, but not in this history. Think about it. In the closing of the genealogy, we see attention called to the Lord's words to Rebekah. At the birth of Jacob and Esau, we see 2 nations are in your womb. If you want to go look that up, that's back in chapter 25, verse 23. And right here was the nation of the older brother. This seems to tell us that these men, they had control of tribes, just like kings. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. It went long again, but we had that announcement at the beginning. Also this week, don't forget, this coming week I should say, I'm also going to be doing that one on biblical, non-biblical sayings that Christians tend to believe. I want to make sure you guys get to listen to that, because that one I feel is very important. Like I said, I had a friend of mine who got real upset with me over one of them, the one about where a lot of people say God helps those who help themselves. Make sure you tune in, because I want you to hear why that is unbiblical. So thank you all for joining me here. I pray the Lord continues to bless and keep each and every one of you, and may God bless you, and make sure you tune in. Thank you.
You have been listening to Sermons in the Park with Reverend Jamie McCaskill. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. And as always, thank you for listening.